Welcome to Closer to Your Higher Self. My name is Jerome, and this is my first YouTube video. Now, I'm a coach and personal trainer, and I've been helping people to transform their lives for almost 3 decades. And on this channel, I want to share some things with you that I think will help to make you a better version of yourself. But I'd also like you to share your stories. Reach out to me in the comments and tell me what you think about the things I discuss. I'd like to create a community around this channel. And if you get some value out of this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone else. Now, earlier this year, I turned 55 years old. And that same week, I ran across a picture of myself. I was in college, 21 years old, and about 40 pounds heavier than I am right now. And at that point, I thought, this guy has absolutely no idea how his life is going to turn out. And then I thought, what would I tell myself if I could go back in time? And that's how the idea for this channel was born. Now, if I could go back in time, the first thing I would tell myself is, trust the journey and the path will reveal itself. In other words, you don't have to have everything figured out right now. And this is something a lot of people struggle with, especially young people. Not just young people, but a lot of people struggle with this. Think about it. Much of the beginning of your life is scripted. You go to this school, take these classes, study for these tests, so you can get into this college, and so forth and so on. So you graduate high school or college if you go to college, and there's no script. Just a lot of people asking you what you're going to do next. And so many of us start looking for a script. And since there was no script, I was looking around to see what everyone else was doing. And this doesn't just apply to 21-year-olds, though. You could be 30, 40, 50 years old and feel this way. Because with the exception of those few people that always knew they were going to be a doctor or a firefighter, people's lives unfold and evolve. And even the people who have their lives all figured out, even their lives take twists and turns they could never have imagined. In many cases, people change careers sometimes more than once. So don't make yourself anxious by thinking you have to have a detailed flowchart of your entire life. And here's a fact about college that illustrates my point. Only about 1 in 4 people work in a job related to their field of study in college. Now, I'm not bashing college. I'm glad I went and I would do it again. What I'm saying is that plans change. So if you don't have everything figured out, you're not alone. In fact, you're probably in the majority. Now, I studied engineering in college. And honestly, it was a major I was not passionate about. But I was good in math and science, and I felt like I could make a decent amount of money with that degree. Because I thought that's how you were supposed to choose your major. So I graduated, and then I started looking for a script. I thought I was supposed to get on this conveyor belt. You know, get a job, get married, buy a house, have the conveyor belt. So I got on the conveyor belt with my corporate job as a systems analyst, which was, by the way, not my field of study in college. And the company I worked for happened to have in-house training. And so one day during a class, I sat next to a guy who was about my age. And I asked him where he usually went for lunch. Now, he told me that he and a friend would work out at the fitness center during lunch. And he invited me to join them. And I did. And I was embarrassed because compared to these guys, I was really overweight and out of shape. And these guys were ripped, but they inspired me. And so I decided to work hard and I lost a lot of weight. Now, People at the fitness center saw my transformation, and some of these people asked me to help them to do the same thing. So then I decided to get certified as a personal trainer, something I am passionate about because helping people transform their lives is very fulfilling. So I began training and working as a systems analyst at the same time. And then I thought, I think maybe I could do this for a living. So I made a plan. And for a while, I did both jobs at the same time. And eventually, I saved a little money as a cushion and I left the corporate world for good. And that was in January of 1999. So I jumped off the conveyor belt. Now, it was a calculated risk. There were about 4 years between getting certified as a personal trainer and leaving that job. But I got off the conveyor belt, and I'm so glad I did. I'm much happier. But when I got my diploma, I never thought my life would take that turn. It never even entered my mind. At that point, I was 29 years old, and my path had already changed more than once. One, my corporate job was not in my field of study. And two, I left that job to do something entirely different. And here's something really interesting. When I was getting ready to leave that corporate job, I was in a meeting where I had to tell colleagues who would be taking over areas I was responsible for. One of the people in the meeting asked me where I was going. I think they thought I was going to get a job in IT at a different company. Now, I told them I was leaving to work independently in the fitness industry and to write music, which is another passion of mine. But I kid you not, for around 10 minutes, people went around the table talking about things they always wanted to do. One person said, I always wanted to open a pet shop. Another person said, I always wanted to open an antique store. A third person wanted their own clothing line. Now, when I left that meeting, I felt amazing because I had confirmation that I was doing the right thing. And all that time, I thought everyone else loved their job and I was this imposter. But that was so far from the truth. And yes, from time to time, I do get weird looks from people that say, wait, so you have an engineering degree from Northwestern and you're a coach? And yes, before I left, multiple people told me about how many small businesses fail. Sometimes people just can't wrap their minds around getting off the conveyor belt. Now, there's nothing wrong with the conveyor belt, and I don't have anything against having a corporate job. They just weren't for me. Here's what I'd like you to take away from this. Don't focus too much on trying to get to a destination. Focus on being fulfilled on the journey. Remember, trust the journey and the path will reveal itself. You're not trying to get to a finish line because there is no finish line. And because there's no finish line, you don't have to have every step mapped out. Focus on a few steps, and if you happen to go in a different direction on your journey, that's okay. Be open to change because you never know where it can lead you. You should always be growing, evolving, and getting closer to your higher self. Now, if you stayed this long, thank you for joining me in my first YouTube video, and I hope to see you in the next one.